right, folks, buckle up, because we're about to take a wild ride through the U.S. economy in 2024. As we kick off the year, the American economy is standing at a crossroads. We're talking inflation that just won't quit, a global supply chain that's about as reliable as a chocolate teapot, and a labor market that seems to be playing a never-ending game of musical chairs. And that's not even getting into the national debt, which is currently large enough to be seen from space. So in the interest of not burying the lead, or our collective sanity, let's break down the top 7 economic challenges facing America this year, shall we? Don't worry, we'll try to have some fun along the way, or at least as much fun as you can have while discussing the potential collapse of the global financial system. Stick around and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Information is power, people! First up, let's talk about everyone's favorite party guest, inflation. Because who needs affordable groceries and stable housing costs when you can watch your purchasing power evaporate? The Federal Reserve has been raising interest rates like a high-stakes game of economic whack-a-mole. But here's the problem. Inflation is a slippery little devil. It's like trying to nail jelly to a wall, only the jelly is on fire and the wall is covered in angry bees. The Fed raises rates, hoping to cool down the economy, but it's a delicate balancing act. Raise them too much, and you risk sending the economy into a recession. Raise them too little, and you're just fanning the flames of inflation. And let's not forget the impact all of this has on ordinary Americans. People are already struggling to make ends meet, choosing between food or keeping the lights on. The Bureau of Labor Statistics has been tracking the rising cost of everything. Food prices up, housing costs through the roof. Even the price of pet food has skyrocketed. This isn't just some abstract economic concept, folks. This is real life, and it's hitting people's wallets where it hurts. So, what's the solution? If I had a simple answer, I'd be running the Federal Reserve. But pretending everything is fine while people struggle is not a winning strategy. We need to address the root causes of inflation, whether it's corporate greed or supply chain disruptions. Hold on tight, folks. It's going to be a bumpy one. Okay, next up on our economic hit parade is the global supply chain. Remember that intricate network of manufacturers, shippers, and retailers that used to deliver your online shopping orders with mind-boggling speed? Yeah, well, it's not doing so hot these days. Imagine a giant game of Jenga, but instead of wooden blocks, it's made up of cargo ships, shipping containers, and truck drivers. Now imagine someone just sneezed on that tower. That's basically the state of the global supply chain right now. The pandemic threw a rather large wrench into the works. Lockdowns, factory closures, and a sudden surge in demand for, well, everything, exposed just how fragile and interconnected our globalized economy really is. And while things have improved somewhat since those dark toilet paper hoarding days of 2020, the system is still a far cry from normal. We're talking about labor shortages, port congestion, and more geopolitical tension than a season finale of House of Cards. This perfect storm of disruptions has led to delays, shortages, and, you guessed it, even higher prices. Remember that new phone you were hoping to buy? Yeah, it's probably stuck on a cargo ship somewhere off the coast of Long Beach. So, what can we do about this mess? Diversifying our supply chains, investing in domestic manufacturing, and maybe, just maybe, learning to live with a little less stuff might be a good place to start. But seriously, folks, this is a problem that's not going away anytime soon. So next time you're tempted to rage-click that Buy Now button, take a deep breath, count to 10, and maybe consider whether you really need that inflatable unicorn sprinkler right this second. All right, let's move on to the wonderful world of work, shall we? Because if you thought finding a parking spot at the mall on Black Friday was tough, try navigating the U.S. labor market right now. The pandemic really did a number on the job market. Millions lost their jobs, entire industries were upended, and remote work became ubiquitous. The job market is still feeling the aftershocks: labor shortages, record job openings, and the Great Resignation. Workers are fed up with low wages and soul-crushing commutes. And then there's automation. Robots are becoming increasingly sophisticated. We need to invest in education and training for future jobs and rethink our entire relationship with work. The future of work is going to look a lot different than the past. Okay, folks, time for a little game of Would You Rather Economic Edition. Would you rather A, face a swarm of angry bees, or B, try to explain the U.S. national debt to a toddler? If you chose A, congratulations, you're saner than I am. Because trying to wrap your head around the sheer magnitude of America's debt is enough to make your brain melt. We're talking about a number so large, so astronomically huge, that it renders the concept of millions and billions utterly meaningless. It's like trying to measure the distance to the sun using a ruler. The Congressional Budget Office has been sounding the alarm bells for years. They've released reports with titles like, "The long-term budget outlook is pretty darn grim in the national debt." We're gonna need a bigger calculator. The problem is, nobody seems to be listening. Politicians on both sides of the aisle love to talk about fiscal responsibility, but when it comes to actually making tough choices like, I don't know, maybe not spending money we don't have, well, that's when things get a little fuzzy. And the longer we wait to address this issue, the bigger the problem becomes. Because all that debt, it's not just some abstract number on a spreadsheet. It has real-world consequences. It can lead to higher interest rates, slower economic growth, and fewer resources available for things like education, infrastructure, and, not letting the entire social safety net crumble into dust. So the next time you hear a politician promising you the moon while simultaneously refusing to raise taxes or cut spending, remember this: there's no such thing as a free lunch, and sooner or later the bill always comes due. All right, folks, let's talk about a topic that's about as comfortable to discuss as a root canal: economic inequality. America prides itself on being the land of opportunity, but the gap between the haves and the have-nots is wider than a canyon. We're talking about a system rigged in favor of those at the top, where the rich get richer and everyone else fights over the crumbs. Think of it like a giant game of Monopoly, but some players get a head start with a stack of cash and hotels already built. The gap between the rich and poor is wider than it's been in decades. The top 1% of earners are raking in a larger share of the pie than ever before. The American dream is starting to look a lot like a cruel joke. When a large portion of the population struggles to make ends meet, it stifles economic growth. We need to create an economy that works for everyone, not just those at the top. We need to invest in education, affordable housing, and healthcare. All right, folks, it's time to talk about the elephant in the room, or should I say the rapidly melting glacier on the mountaintop: climate change. Because while some people like to pretend it's not real, or that it's a problem for future generations to deal with, the reality is that climate change is happening right now, and it's already having a significant impact on the economy. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, has been collecting data on climate change for decades. Sea levels are rising, temperatures are soaring, and extreme weather events are becoming more frequent and more intense. And all of this comes with a hefty price tag. We're talking about billions of dollars in damage from hurricanes, floods, and wildfires. We're talking about lost productivity due to extreme heat and drought. We're talking about increased costs for food, water, and energy. Now, I'm not saying that addressing climate change is going to be cheap or easy. It's going to require a massive investment in renewable energy, sustainable infrastructure, and a whole lot of political will. But here's the thing: doing nothing is going to be far more expensive in the long run. The longer we wait to address this issue, the worse it's going to get. So, the next time you hear someone say that we can't afford to address climate change, remind them that we can't afford not to. Because the reality is, we're all living on this planet together, and if we don't start taking care of it, we're all going to pay the price. All right, folks, it's time to talk about the future. And no, I'm not talking about flying cars or teleportation devices, although those would be pretty cool. I'm talking about the rapid pace of technological change and the impact it's having on the economy, the job market, and pretty much every aspect of our lives. Now, I'm not a Luddite. I'm not afraid of new technology. In fact, I think it has the potential to make our lives easier, healthier, and more fulfilling. But I also think it's important to be aware of the potential downsides of technological disruption. Because if we're not careful, we could end up creating a future where the benefits of technology are enjoyed by a select few, while everyone else is left behind. The World Economic Forum has been sounding the alarm bells about the potential for technological disruption to exacerbate inequality. The reality is that automation, artificial intelligence, and other rapidly advancing technologies are already transforming the workplace. Jobs that were once considered safe, jobs that require years of education and training, are now at risk of being automated. So, what's the solution? We need to invest in education and training programs that equip workers with the skills they need to thrive in a rapidly changing economy. We need to create policies that support workers, not just corporations. Because if we're not careful, we could end up creating a future where a small elite controls the technology, the wealth, and the power, while everyone else is left to fight over the scraps. So, let's embrace the potential of technology, but let's do so in a way that benefits everyone, not just a select few. So, there you have it, folks. The top 7 economic challenges facing America in 2024. It's a daunting list, to be sure, but it's not an insurmountable one. The challenges we face are complex, but they're not insurmountable. The key is to approach them with a clear-eyed understanding of the stakes, a willingness to challenge the status quo, and a commitment to working together to create a more just and sustainable future for all. From inflation and supply chain woes to climate change and the rise of automation, these issues will continue to shape the economic landscape for years to come. But with informed decision-making, proactive policies, and a healthy dose of skepticism towards anyone who claims to have all the answers, we can navigate these challenges and build a more resilient and equitable economy for everyone. If this roller coaster ride through America's economic anxieties has taught us anything, it's that staying informed and engaged is more important than ever. So stay curious, stay informed, and most importantly, stay engaged. Because the future of the American economy, and indeed the planet, depends on it. And hey, if you made it this far, you deserve a cookie. Or maybe just a stiff drink. Either way, thanks for watching.